What's up, guys? I'm Evan Rogers. Welcome back to Next Up. And today we're going to be talking about keeping your horizons broad when it comes to your career search. And I'm joined by Neesin. What's up, bro?
What's up, guys?
Great to have you.
Great to be here, man.
You're a fellow host, and we're both hosting or
stuff.
It's
always weird. Like, we're on the other side, and you listen to somebody's intro because you don't want to say, like, you're like, don't say anything. Don't be that person that just jumps in. It's like, yeah, what's up, man?
Yeah,
so
right.
Just sitting there, like,
dude. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I feel like I'm stoked to have you on because we really have, connected on, especially being in the creative realm. You're just, for people that don't know, you're in the creative space as well. Being versatile is something that we both connected on quite a bit in the past, a couple weeks even. And I think what's kind of a misnomer nowadays is like, do I come out of college and fit a mold as a creative? We're kind of unicorns in a way with the system because we don't really fit into business roles and whatnot. So what's kind of your perspective on being broad with your interests, especially creatively?
Coming out of college, I think going into college for me was a little tricky because I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do music. I knew I was already going for it. And then the college that I did want to go to was Clark Atlanta University. Mm-hmm. So I had my girlfriend at the time. She was a year younger than me, so she still had one more year. I ended up getting accepted to Clark. And I was like, I could wait 1 year. I got to accept it, right? That's what it's about. It's not about actually going. Like, I could wait, right? So I didn't go, and not only because of her, but because I really started to do music. And now I say really started to do music. I built out a whole studio in my mom's garage. And
sounds familiar. Right.
But this is a lot better than ours. Let me just paint. Ours is called the Sweat Factory, and it was. And then we had this. It was this mouse or whatever, and because it wasn't big, so it wasn't a rat, but it was a mouse that used to run across every time we record. It'll run across from like the neighbors because the neighbors never cut their grass and stuff.
Right.
So it will run and it will like scurry across every time we record. So we named him Pedro, and because and only reason we named him Pedro is because we didn't want to name him Ben, because Michael Jackson, right? So we let's name him Pedro. I say all that to say I was doing all those things and I knew what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And so when it was time, when my girl went off to Howard University, she went to her dream school and stuff, and I just felt like, what am I doing at this community college? Like, let me go do what I really want to do. And that was create and make music and do those things. And so that's what I did. And I kept trying to go back to school, and school kept pulling me away from doing the thing that I was actually doing. And when I made the decision to completely drop out of college, which, guys, I'm not saying drop out of college. I'm gonna fill the story in perfectly. When I made the choice to completely drop out of college, my major was media production with a minor in psychology. And my final for my media production in my year was learning how to. I had to make a whole session on GarageBand. It's making a session on GarageBand. This is at the time I'm in multi-million-dollar studios cutting records, engineering my own records, and I'm making doing sessions on GarageBand and like doing shortcuts. And I literally like looked at the teacher. I turned in my stuff in, and I was just like, I don't think this is for me. Because I'm already doing it. And then I explained to him, and he said, yeah, you're right. Like, school will always be here for you. So, coming out of college, I think if you don't, as a creative, a lot of times we don't know where to go. Yeah. Because, it's not a clear path to anything. Nothing is clear being a creative.
It's the most broad thing.
It's the most. Really is. Like, even the word creative, like, it's just like, well, what do you create? Do you create, like, slime? Like, what do you do? Those, because those kids are creatives. They amazing videos, crazy. YouTube, millions of views.
Millions of views.
But it's so where do I go? What do I do? School is such an easy path. I wake up, I do college, I do work. Somebody's telling me where to be, how to be, what to be. Okay, it's done. Okay, I can get an internship. I can get a job. Like, these things are so formulaic, right? Being a creative isn't that. It's literally, okay, what do you want to do? Okay, you have to go make it. And coming out of college, just being 21, 22, 23, whatever that age may be, you may be Doogie Howser and be 16. Coming out of that, it could be a lot, but also it could be the most freeing thing because you're looking at it, you're saying, oh, I don't have to have a boss. Like I could truly be my own boss. Now, granted, when you get called onto gigs and stuff, you gotta have a boss, right? Like,
of course.
But you're in control of your career, and I think that's the mindset that we need to start talking to people. And as far as like take control of yourself way before college, like in high school, and I mentor kids as well, and I tell them in high school, like, what's your passion? Like, what is the thing that lights your soul on fire to this day? I don't care if it's video games. I don't care if it's watching something, because within that realm, if you're either playing it or watching it be played, if that, whatever sets you on fire, you can find a career within that. And why not take control over that path now, rather than being told what to do until you're 18 or until you're 22? It's like, well, we told you what to do your whole life. Now just go be a...
Like, you're making such a great point to that, because that's what I kind of wanted to touch on with you is, you know, the education system in America is good in a lot of facets, but at the same time, like you're saying, and it's not really anybody's fault. It's just you've been following a structure, like you're saying, your whole life, right? Yeah. And then you get thrown out into the, you know, and if, especially in the creative realm, like you've been touching on, like you're a self-starter. It's almost like being an entrepreneur. I had an entrepreneur on earlier, and we were talking about that, my friend Justin, and it's very interesting to see, like, you know, wow, okay, I'm really going out there. I'm really meeting with people and connecting. But I think along those lines, something that we've even talked about is putting out something, even if you have an idea or whatever, and you just put it into motion. And I know you did that with your show in a session, which is, and same with my thing. I just had an idea and I said, I'm going to do a podcast. I'm going to start it. And now I'm looking 3 years later, I took an entire year off of it because of COVID and stuff, and I just didn't shoot. Now I'm looking back on it and I'm like, okay, I've personally have grown leaps and bounds from when I started, and I was in college when I started. I come out of that now and I'm seeing the world really different. I've been through a startup situation. I got through that, and I learned the vulnerability of that work environment. And now I'm like, okay, well, this is really, really different. Like I'm out here trying to figure it out. And there's a whole level to that of like, that's part of the journey, right? Like figuring it out.
It is. And I think that's, first of all, having an idea and actually turning it to fruition and making it tangible is the most rewarding feeling, I feel like, next to having kids. I don't know what it's like to have kids. I don't have kids. But I feel like when people look at their kids, and, you know, they may be stressed or whatever, but when, you know, they look at them and they say, wow, like, this is, you know, I created this, and it's all flourishing, you know, running around breaking its leg, or, you know, eating its own boogers, whatever it may be. I feel like that's what our creative babies are, right? Like, we
watch them grow.
We watch it grow, and because it's a reflection of us. Right. And I think I try to encourage people to create something. No, right. Even if it's within your own body, like, if, you know, I always tell people, when they're like, what inspired, how can I get inspired or whatever? I'm like, run. And then I was like, run. And then when you feel like you want to stop, keep running. Don't stop at that moment. Maybe run for 2 more minutes than that. And then you just realize, like, oh, I just did that. Oh, and I was like, do that a couple of times a week, and then watch your body. Now you're creating a different body. Now you're creating a different mindset. Now, like, it's just those little things. So it's about like you said, it's the journey of it, right? Like, that journey, as we look back, like, you look back and you're like, wow, like, I'm completely different from 3 years ago. Like,
dude, oh my gosh.
Like, but
it's crazy. I was so dumb. You look back and you're like, I'm so stupid, right? Like,
well, I mean, like, I hope you don't look back and say you're so stupid. But you
don't hate on yourself. But yeah,
right, yeah. But you learn.
I didn't learn enough back then. Like, now I'm, you know, like, you're 20. I'm 23, but like 23 now, I'm seeing where I was at 22 and 21. Right. And you just keep retrospectively. That's what I love having you on and to talk about this specifically, is because I think that's really important, is, put yourself out there, put your art out there, but watch yourself grow through the art. Absolutely. And then suddenly, like, our job is we're craftsmen. Like, that's our goal. And I keep mentioning that on the show, but, you know, every day we're like carving away at the model of, you know, who we are. Hopefully, you know, hopefully you're putting yourself out there enough to where other people are shaping you, and we're hearing perspectives and changing our thoughts every day, hopefully, if you're doing it correctly.
Hopefully.
But that should be the goal, right? Like, I want to hear what you think about that.
No,
I think that's important.
I think vulnerability is the most important key to being an artist. You have to be open, honestly, and I think it's the most important key to life. If we're talking about living life to the extreme fullest, like you can't be scared to get your heart broken. You can't be scared of failure. You can't. The fears of we create our own devils. Like we create our own Thanos. we create all our own like enemies. And it comes from here. And so if we want to actually get the most out of life, we can't be afraid to do those things. We can't be afraid to fail. And it doesn't like I get people are like, well, this could kill you or this could do this. It's like, it could. But it also could do so much more. And you could also live. The old, what's that old saying? Like, people, you live every day. Or what is it? I forgot now.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but basically like living, like people are alive, but are you living? Right? Like, are you living? Are you doing the thing that is people are scared to do? What is this called? 1 in 20?
Yeah.
Why is it 1 in 20?
It's 1 in 20 because it's 1 out of every 20 people will be successful.
But yeah,
hopefully, because they put themselves out there and they try, and that's what we really linked up on. I think
exactly.
You put yourself out there, and I think maybe that's something we really should hone in on is like just how specifically and how far that goes. I mean, I'm thinking through it right now, and I'm like, the amount of times that I just put myself out there and created one thing. And watch that one thing shape me and grow. That's what it's all about. And I think we've talked about this before. Not enough people will even do that one thing that they think about. You mentioned that to me. Yeah. And you said, like, and I've heard it before, but it's such a great reminder that most will not even create something that they think of. They say, wouldn't it be great if I did that? Yeah. Dad, wouldn't it be great? Grandpa, wouldn't it be great? They don't do it. They don't. Why do you think people don't do that?
The fear of failure. It's the fear of failure. Like, it's the vulnerability. It's, they did it at first. It's they did it because of they had XYZ. It's all the excuses that they had,
or they were privileged, or they were given an opportunity.
All the things. And now look, I am a firm believer of there's no such thing as pulling up by your bootstraps and doing it, because some people weren't even born with boots, let alone straps, let alone socks in those boots with straps. So it's, of course, I firm believe in that, but I also believe in figure it out.
Yeah.
Google intern, something there. And I say that for now, like in 2021, there's hardly an excuse. There's hardly an excuse. You have to reach out to somebody like me, somebody like you. If you were to reach out to somebody like us, somebody who's like, hey, I want to learn this, or you're going to be like, yeah, cool. Like, come on, man. Let me teach you, because you've been there, right? You're going to want to be able to help these people. And it's so many people like me and you. Now, granted, it's not enough people like me and you, because there's so many people from the old ways of like, well, I didn't have to do that. So
traditional.
Traditional. But that should, I don't want like using that traditional, because what's traditional? Like, traditional should be this.
Traditional is generational if you think about it.
That's what
it changes all the time.
Yeah. So it should be.
We're making that right now.
Exactly. It should be this. It should be, hey, we're open to help. We're open to do this. So trying to do that could be daunting, and the dread is bigger than the deed, right? Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to put myself out there. But I want the reward. Do you think
everybody wants that?
Kobe didn't get 5 rings from just playing 82 games a season. He got 5 rings from making sure he made 500 shots before he stepped off the court. On practice before and after, right? Yep. He got 500 rings from waking up at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, going to a practice before practice. Like it's those. He got 500 rings from running miles during the Olympic Games. He was running miles and riding bike rides and miles just to hype himself up. Like, these are the things that that must be done, that gets the reward.
Oh, and you think about the iconography in America of the people that we look up to that inspire us, like Kobe. Kobe's actually personally is like the single greatest inspiration I ever had in my life growing up, watching him during the finals in 2001, 2000, all those years as a baby, seeing that and seeing the work ethic and reading about him and all that stuff, right? America's been very good for creating those icons that we follow. But what we don't always think about, I think, and maybe at the outset, because I really want to serve this specific audience, 18-24 age-ish, that's really trying to figure it out. I think what we don't think about is, they had the same starting point. They started from 0 too.
Yeah.
And I think my buddy Justin that came on said, you can't put your year 1 compared to Kobe's year 25.
Nope.
That doesn't work, because then you're comparing yourself and you're not making a genuine version of yourself. So like, how have you kind of created your genuineness as like how you offer?
You can't compare your year 1 to another person's year 1 because you guys are 2 different makeups.
Totally different,
right? Like
and
you
unique.
Unique. You guys come from 2 different backgrounds, 2 different mindsets. Like it's just so much that makes up who you are, makes up that other person, right? And I say it's a 2-part answer for me because it took me a while to learn that. I'm a very competitive person. I will look at something and say, why can I not do that? I'm going to do that. Why can't? And then when I do it, it's like, I should be there. Okay, how did this person do that? Okay, I followed A through Z and I'm still not there? Like what? Like I'm driving myself crazy. And you say Kobe's one of your biggest inspirations. That's the thing that related me to Kobe so much.
Yeah.
And that's the thing where I love Kobe so much because he looked at Jordan that way. He looked at Jordan and said, I'm going to do every single thing he does and I'm going to try to do it better.
Have you seen those mix-ups with him, flashback with him?
And he'd tell Kobe wasn't the strongest, he wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the most athletic. He just worked harder than everybody, and he had one person who he wanted to top, right?
And then he got to play with him. Imagine that. That's life for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you could get on the stage with the people you look up to.
And when he got on stage with him, all he did was ask him questions.
During the games.
All he did was, how can I be that? How can I be that person? How can I be greatness? Right. And so with me and what I learned during that, it was I want to be considered number 1 over everything I do inside and outside. I want to be able to look in the mirror and say, yeah, I'm the best because I put in the work. And then I want people to be able to recognize that. Humble is all, but you're going to talk your stuff because you put in the work.
Yeah.
Right. LeBron doesn't call himself king because he does not work out. All he does is work out. All he does is treat his body. All he does is
$1 million a year body. Yeah.
All he does is study.
He always does that. Yeah.
That's why he calls himself the king. That's why Jay-Z could call himself the greatest of all time. All he does is make moves and puts the culture in positions to win over and over and over and over again. That's why he could be called the greatest.
That's brilliant, dude. That's brilliant. I mean, that's the thing is, now let's even take it back a notch, like with all of that as context. Then you talk about versatility now.
Yeah.
You even just mentioned, to your point, and I'm the same way, where if I see something done in my field or my space, I'm always like, well, I wonder if I can emulate that to a point where I can learn how to do something that somebody did well, right? But then how do I put my own spin on it? And then that's in one field, and then I got another project starting somewhere else. Like, I want to touch on the versatility aspect because we both are very similar as far as like starting a project and seeing it through, but then starting another one and starting that one and starting, right? So, and it could be you, Neesin, as a host. It could be Neesin, creating beats. It could be Neesin doing whatever you do.
Yeah.
So like, for somebody that's considering a bunch of different, spaces in the creative realm, like what advice or like what, encouragement could you give to somebody doing that?
Man, I'm probably the wrong person because I do everything. But no, I would say this. It's find the one thing that anchors you. Find the one thing that you love and that, again, I would say light your heart on fire. And I feel like if you go towards that, and I'm saying this from experience, music was that for me. Music was my passion. It was my love. I wrote, I eat, breathed, and slept music. I studied music. I still do. I studied artist performances. I rehearsed. I rebooked out studio. I used to book out dance studios, and I didn't have shows, and I rehearsed songs and performances. But it was about putting in work. It was about the practice, right? Because I wanted to be the best performer. I wanted to be the best entertainer. And so I did that. And that led to tours, and that led to song, that led to all the great things, but then what led to me doing music videos, and then me co-directing my music videos, which led to me then, writing treatments for, which led to me writing, acting in things, and then producing things, and then directing things. And it was just this thing that kept going on and on, but the core of it, and what within a session, the core of it is music. that's the love. Anything I do, whether it's acting, hosting, producing, writing, whatever, the core of it is around music.
Mm-hmm. So and that's like your why, right? Like people say that all the time. I've mentioned it on the show. Or the point, right? That's the point.
I would say that's the anchor. The why.
The anchor, yeah,
for sure. The why to me is always legacy and to inspire. Like I love getting the feeling of when I'm talking to somebody and their eyes light up. Mm-hmm. And I know, like, my whole thing is live forever, and I don't mean in the physical sense. Mm-hmm. I mean in the spiritual and being passed down sense. If I inspire a kid over in Scottish whatever, that he may grow up and inspire somebody else, he may grow up and inspire us, and then they go and be like, my great granddad was inspired by this guy named Neesin, right? Like, that's what I mean.
Legacy.
And it's the legacy, but that comes from that anchor and that core and that love. Mm-hmm. My love for music inspired me doing all these other things, which happen to light up, one or hopefully millions of other people, and so I think we get so caught up in, I want to do this, do that. Hey, that's all gonna come. I promise you, everything that your heart desires is going to come if you just listen and put one foot in front of the next.
And it's so important, I think, to really like hit home on that. Like you said, find what your anchor is. Mm-hmm. Like for me personally, it's film.
Yep.
And so anything that I'm surrounding myself with has to look great. The content has to be very, very important. Me, Evan, as a person, my whole goal is to help a community of people that are trying to make it happen, right? And trying to do their thing in film and in business and whatever. So for me, that's what my goal is. That's kind of my why that's so, thrown out and thrown around. But the anchor is film, like you just said. Yeah. Those two things are really, really important to find if you guys are trying to figure that sort of thing out. Those two things help you build that pipe. And I think Neesin said it best, where you can start adding those threads and pieces. Yeah. Because guess what? You're learning yourself too. Yeah. That's what I love, is throughout the whole process, like we mentioned earlier, you're learning a new facet of yourself that you didn't think you were capable of. And it's also a matter of, like, we might be able to touch on this just a smidge, is time. Mm-hmm. You mentioned time and waiting on something for a long time. I feel immensely different doing this show now in this, avenue, this kind of new like venture of Next Up, because I feel like I've taken time to think about this for now 3 years. Right. And now I'm finally getting to a point where I'm more happy with what I originally had thought it would be.
Right.
But like, maybe you should speak to that a little bit, because I know even what you could use in a session as an example of like an idea that came and then you made it come to life, but over time, right?
Yeah. So I want to be considered valuable. Mm-hmm. So you have to make yourself a value, right? It goes back to being able to inspire and uplift people. And so I was in studios, and I feel like the most raw, intimate conversations happen in recording studios. Mm-hmm. And I tell people the magic behind recording studio, guys. If you guys have never been in a recording studio, it's really just something about it. 2 a.m. There's no windows. There's, it's just
the same with an edit bay,
right? Like, edit bay. Same thing with an edit bay. There's nothing, but it's just you and another person usually, and it's only so long those walls could be up, and so you just start talking about just life. Like real life and the makeup of who you are, and you come to similarities, and you're able to build on things. It's an incredible feeling, and you're also ordering pizza at 3:00 in the morning from somewhere, right? Great feeling.
Good memories.
Yeah, great feeling. I started having that, and then I started having it with so many people, and then realizing that these artists are more than just rappers or singers or actors or whatever they are. Like, you're more than just one person. Mm-hmm. And I know I'm more than just one person. Like, you're literally sitting in front of a rapper, singer, producer, former pro wrestler, like all the crazy avenue of things, right? So I'm like, man, this would be great to like talk to somebody with. Okay, but let's talk with our anchor. Like, where's my love at? My love is music. All right. Well, it'd be great if we did a show in recording studio. Of course, we could branch out to that. And just to give people, so going to other studios. So in a session is a raw, kind of just like this two chair conversation. I have raw conversations with multifaceted people, and to be able to showcase them in our stylized segment called In a Booth, and still showcase their talent. At first I just wanted to be in a recording studio because of my anchor, my love for music. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, well, there's more than just record. Like, there's painters, and there's models, and there's these, there's actors. Like, let's what's their studio? What's their session? Like, what is that? Let's walk into their sessions, right? And so that came from me wanting to give back to my love and my anchor of music. And then I was talking with my partner. I was directing my first film, which is crazy. I was directing my first film in Italy, and it's a complete Italian film, which is strange because I don't know any Italian. It was
it's hard. I've done that. I've been there, so I know.
Yeah. Like directing a film in complete another foreign language in a foreign country in the middle of Rome, and like produce. That's a whole another story for a whole another time. But in that time, I believe it was then. It was either then or Cannes of this other. It was real crazy. But I was talking to Bree, and I said, yeah, I want to do this show. And I just pitched her this show idea. She was like, oh yeah, that's really dope. Like, okay, cool. Like, you know, and it was one of those, like, if somebody's like, yeah, like, all right, cool. Like, great. Do that thing. And that's how I felt. I was like, all right, whatever. I got back. I was at one of my good friends. She's an amazing actor, and it was her birthday, and we were at a bar, and I haven't seen her in a while. And I just got back from the film, and she was asking me how things were going. She's drunk, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's good. Yeah. She was like, what are you working on? What about that? And I was like, oh yeah, I got this. I want to do this other film that I just wrote, and then the show called In a Session. Remember I told you about a while ago? She was like, okay, yeah. Yeah, the intercession thing. Yeah, that show. And I was like, yeah. She was like, yeah, you need to do that. And I was like, oh, no, well, no. She was like, no, you need to do it. Like,
she said she like deadpan.
Yeah, she
right
like dead, like just sober, just dead-eyed me and was just like, do it. And for some odd reason, that was like the thing of like, oh, wow, I need to do it. Right? Now, granted, within this time period, multiple people I would like tell about it, and they're like, oh man, that's a great idea. Like, you should do it. She gave me that, but she gave me in the like stuff. If you're drunk, like clearly drunk, not even like like she was drunk, and like she was just able to like sober up into like basically Billy Madison, like, yeah, like doing those. I was like, oh yeah, all right, I'm gonna
gotta focus up.
And that next week I hit Bree. I was like, look, this is it. Like, I was afraid of the money. I was afraid of whatever, but. No, man. Like we smartened up, we figured it out, and that's the thing. And it all I can't stress this enough. It all came from the anchor of love, and it just all came from like your why as well. Like it came from me wanting to inspire, and it came from love. Those two things.
It's amazing. No, I mean, and honestly, like just to kind of like land the plane here on this because we're already almost at time. I think that is like really, really important to just focus in on those two factors that we even talked about. Like, what is your anchor? What is the field? What is the category? And then what are you doing it for? Right. And I see that growing in me every day that, I do more of these. I haven't done this in a long time. I'm stoked to do it again. Like I see myself changing every day and evolving and taking time to take care of myself, but also think for my future, projections of where I want to go and all that stuff. And all of that goes into that package. So I'm like really, really happy that you spoke to that topic. I hope that's, enlightening to people.
No, man. I look, we need you. We need content like this because these type of conversations, and especially now, I think once the world gets to where it's going to be moving forward, like people are going to be more willing to listen and have these conversations. But we don't know like I said, we don't know who's watching this somewhere, maybe in Nebraska, like chilling in a 1-bedroom apartment looking for inspiration. Right?
It could change them.
It could change them. And I think we just need you, bro. Like we just need you. So you just keep doing.
Dude. Me too, man. It's so important. But give you a second to plug because you've already been talking about In a Session. Yes. So talk about you and everything.
So yeah, all right. So you can find In a Session, which is I feel it's a great interview show and just great showcase of talented people, and also to have talented people in front and behind camera. On it, everybody's hands. I'm really blessed to be on it. So you can find it at I was about to give a website. It will. We're actually working on it. So I was like, you can find it at www. Now you can find it at In a Session on Instagram. You can find it on YouTube at youtube.com/StayFlyFilms, which you can also find like our other film stuff. I believe it's on there. It's probably private because we just use it for pitching. I don't know why. But,
you're like me. There's a million links that I can put out there.
And you can find me personally at StayFlyLife on Instagram or on Twitch, or at that hashtag show, which I am part ownership, so I should probably plug that. Or that hashtag show as well, which is a geek pop culture company that you could get everything trending in geek pop culture. And yes, that's our tagline. And that's like a third of the
that
things,
was a beautiful, yeah. I know.
I hate plugging myself. Yeah, I'm usually on the other side, guys. So I'm usually like, oh, please, just tell them where they can find you.
No.
And I can like back away.
Oh my gosh,
yeah.
Bro, that's funny. No, but great stuff. And if you want, I can lower third some stuff too if you want to. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you for commenting, and subscribing. Please be sure to check out the community. It's our growing Discord thread where people like us can all talk like this. Business minds, creatives can all sit down and have a conversation virtually, which is great because often with COVID, everybody's isolated. So I hope that is of benefit to you. And be sure to check out our Patreon. That's something newer that we're introducing. Doing a little special where it's basically $1 a month, $12 a year to be a supporter. I shout you out at the end of the show. Be a part of that. That really helps us keep going and push more content. Neesin, thank you for being on. I really appreciate you and everything that we've been able to talk about today.
Man, no problem. Actually, you can find me in that community, and you could probably find me just crying over WandaVision. I'm not going to bring it up today, though. I promise I won't.
We can't talk about it. Spoilers.
I promise
I'm sure when it releases, there won't be spoilers, but for now, we can't talk about it. Oh my gosh.
Just know I feel used, and I am the embodiment of Eddie Murphy in Boomerang, where he's just like, after he got done, he's just like, with the cover up on him. This is how I feel. Like, I'm just like, Marvel just did it to me, guys.
I'm still recovering from that night.
I need a cigarette now.
Yeah. Dude, anyway, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you soon. And thank you to Next Level supporter Ethan Welch for supporting us on Patreon. Be sure you do that. Lots of cool benefits that are associated with that, so you don't want to miss it. Thank you, Ethan Welch, Next Level supporter.